Well, Korbin?
Yeah.
Korbin. Thank you so much for helping my project. Could you say a couple words about yourself?
So I'm currently a senior at Clear Falls High School. I am in engineering design and development. That's the furthest engineering class you can kind of take at Falls. And we're working with NASA this year on Hunch design projects, specifically engineering, to design something that we're going to put on, hopefully, on the moon. So.
That's excellent. Yeah, no, the Hunch program, I know people that designed like the table that the astronauts eat around in the ISS as an example, and some other things. That's awesome. So your project that your team is building may actually be transported on a future Artemis mission.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Right now it's just kind of in the preliminary design stages, so we don't have too much of a vision on where we're going to end up with this project. But if we can take care of this, then it'd be really cool, because what it is it's meant to separate some of that ice and lunar regolith on the South Pole, specifically in the Shackleton crater. And our project goal kind of statement is to concentrate that mixture by 10 to 20% more of ice. That way it's much easier to transport back to those warmer areas of the moon, where obviously you'd separate the ice into water and regolith, and then take your water to some of these moon bases. They're sort of checkpoints. That way we can develop some water on the moon, and it's a lot less costly to send it up there to space ourselves. So.
That sounds awesome. And I understand the Shackleton crater is extremely cold.
Yes.
Do you all have like some environment that y'all can kind of test out your designs in such kind of like a cold?
We do not, and that's one of the shortcomings, obviously, that we're going to have working with just school budget and environment in general. Obviously, if it was an independently funded project, it would be a lot easier to conduct some of this research. But we're working with what we've got, and so we're going to do the best we can. We have a few contacts at NASA already. I'm working with someone that works on Mars soil and like terrain. I don't know if you know him, Doug Archer.
Doug Archer. Sounds familiar, but I don't know him well enough. I'm
working with him, and we're going to get some lunar regolith into the classroom so we can simulate more of that environment if we can.
That sounds awesome. So, is it this project that got you interested in space, or were you interested in space and that brought you to this project?
So I've always been kind of intrigued with it. It's definitely sort of just a proximity thing, being how close we are to NASA, and the opportunity, obviously, that Hunch gives you in engineering classes that kind of brought me more into it. So I would say there was definitely an interest, if I could learn as much about it as I could without diving too deep into it, right? Because obviously it's an intriguing concept, right? It's not on Earth.
Did you know that NASA was sending astronauts back to the moon before getting involved with Hunch?
Not necessarily. I mean, I know that like they're working on just bigger and better and building on previous projects. So if previous projects sent somebody to the moon, but very briefly, then obviously they're going to want to go to sending somebody to the moon for a longer period of time, or for specific like collection of samples or whatever. So I could have guessed, but I wasn't informed of it specifically.
Yeah, I've interviewed lots of people here at Starbucks, just walking the streets, at the park, at the airport and stuff. And I would say 80% of people have no clue we're going back to the moon. Is that in line with sort of like your perception of like your peers and family and friends and that type of thing?
So what I can say is I'm surrounded by a lot of intelligent people. Just being where I'm able to be, specifically at Falls, it's a great school. And the classes that I'm in, it just gives me the environment that, you just surround yourself with those intelligent people, those who know that NASA's going to be working on the bigger and better. Clearly there are a few people at the school, like there are people in lower level classes and whatnot, and you'd never be too sure if they would know or not. But definitely in my immediate community, I have many of my peers are very intellectual and intelligent. So.
When you think about where it might take us, if we were to project out like 200 years in the future, which is an incredibly long time, do you see a future where humanity's really expanded beyond the Earth? I mean, still on Earth, of course, and Earth is like a special place, but where, maybe people who've never been to Earth are planning trips to come visit Earth, that type of thing.
I can see it as a definite possibility for sure. I mean, nobody knew that they were going to be across the whole continent before the exploration age, right? Nobody knew they'd be in the Americas, and a lot of people here, right, in the United States don't often have the opportunity to travel to Europe. So it's somewhat of a similar concept, right? If we're able to venture out into space and we're able to establish land and colonies there, then yeah, some people might not have the chance to visit Earth when they're there. But yes, I do think space travel and expansion into other planets is most definitely a possibility.
So 200 years from now, there could be people on Mars at a Starbucks watching this video.
I would believe it. You never know how fast technology is going to explode. There's been so many different just revolutionary periods that have just defied all previous social and cultural norms, technology-wise specifically, that I think you never know what's going to happen. So I would say it's definitely possible.
And if you were watching this video 200 years in the future, is there anything that you would want to share with your future 200-year-old self?
Oh goodness. I don't know. Maybe not be so lazy. Start working. Yeah, because I've definitely slacked a lot, and it's just it's disappointing almost, because I've been told so many times that, you know, obviously I'm taking these higher level classes and I could do more. Yeah, I wish, you know, maybe be less involved with the social media aspect of life, because as much as technology can have its serious benefits, it's also got its drawbacks, and I think you have to learn when to be moderate in its usage.
It's kind of funny because the success of social media is to be addictive. Like,
Yes.
I mean, there are literally people that are purposely trying to make your eyeballs glued to it. If you could you take a trip to space?
I would. To me, it's like taking a trip on a plane. Obviously, if there's enough research conducted and it's safe enough, right? Margin of error on planes is pretty low as of now, but it's still not impossible to crash. So I think if we get it to the point where it's somewhat like air travel, then I would for sure want to take a trip to space. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Do you think you'll get an opportunity in your lifetime?
But my mom, she also works.
It's possible. It is possible, especially with all the work that independent companies like SpaceX and even government-funded agencies like NASA, if they're able to work together, or if they're able to just work off of each other, I think the rate of our expansion is going to be a lot higher than it is right now, and we may possibly see people going to space.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, I mean, if you design your regolith separator in such a way that you're like, I really have to operate it. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could tell you all the ins and outs, but I got to be there.
I know,
Who
right?
knows? I
mean,
think the most important thing is that we keep progressing. Too much stagnation is never going to be good. And if we just keep turning our gears and working on the same thing over and over again, eventually there's going to be complacency, and we're just going to, it's not going to be good for the species. So it's something that I think we're naturally geared to do, is advance. So I think if we keep working on it, helping each other more than anything, we can't keep fighting and arguing over things that aren't so important to survival of our species. Like, if we keep wars and just conflicts, then we're never going to move past these issues and progress to the future.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Korbin. It's such a pleasure to run into you and get to talk to you.
Yeah, of course.